Hey everybody, welcome to Missouri Welding Institute Monday. I have something really exciting I want to share with you today, and this is something I've used a lot to my advantage here the last few years, and that is mold modification. So, Do It Molds makes a lot of really awesome stuff. However, there are some factors where you may need to use this technique. So, whenever a hot new bait comes out, a new technique comes around, manufacturers, they have a process that they have to go through to be able to produce a lure and mass produce it. So this is a little deal you can use to, get ahead of the curve and produce something that you may need. There's also the whole out of stock factor. You get to catching them a certain way, or you need something, you go to the tackle shop and they don't have it because it's something way off the wall, or it's just extremely effective and everyone's bought it. So I'm going to run through a few of these. Some of them are extremely simple and some of them are, more complicated. So I'll start with some really simple ones and go down the line here. So Do It has a Swim Pro Trocard jig mold. That's what it looks like right there. And it's drilled out, for a turned jig eye. So on a swim jig, I like something that's going to be a little more weedless. And, where, the line's not going to get caught on every single thing whenever it's coming through a bunch of grass or something. So here's how the mold looks whenever it's brand new. You've got the turned eye. And I actually drilled it out just with a drill and a drill bit to accommodate the flat eye. So like I said, it's more weedless. So that's what it starts off as, and here's the end product. You got a great shape jig head, but it's got the flat eye, so it's gonna be more weedless, all that. One of the easiest things to do is, add just a wire weed guard. So these are just regular ball jig heads, football heads. And I literally just took a Sharpie, marked it off, and just filed out a little bitty groove to get a wire weed guard in there. That one's just a cable, just a little wire cable. And then, for some clear water, like down on Table Rock Bull Shoals, I put a little plastic weed guard in there to try. It worked all right. None of them really worked better than the other, but it looked really cool. We got to do some smallmouth fishing this year. And, I just want to try a little finesse football head with just a wire weed guard. So I just bought a Do It football head, no weed guard in it, and just put the file to it. And that's the end result right there. For all you crappie fishermen out there, this is one I did a while back, and this is the Do It Wacky wire guard. And it's hard to see, but that's it. It's just a tiny little weed guard that, the fish can't see. It's extremely short, it's soft, but that thing will literally come through about anything. So here's, what the mold looks like. I just kind of marked it off, and then just run your file across there and get a little groove going in it. One of the most versatile Do It molds to mess with here is the poison tail. So, I talked about availability and everything earlier, and, it's extremely hard to find your lighter A-rig, size heads with a good hook in it and everything. So I make my own. This is the Do It poison head, and what I did here was I just added a wire coil to it, and then I'm able to, make that in sizes down to, a 1/16 if I want to. So that's one need for it. And then, this last winter I got to fish with my buddy Travis, and we were live scoping, and I'm new to that, but the fish were moving really fast, and you needed something really heavy to get on them really quick. So the night before the tournament, we rigged this deal up. It's a 1 ounce poison head. And once again, drilled it out to accommodate that coil lock. So you're fishing, if you miss a fish, your bait's still on there. And like I said, a 1 ounce head, that's something that it's not every single tackle shop's going to be carrying. So also in the poison tail mold, I just got creative. I saw people starting to use tail spinners and everything. So that's literally a poison head with some JB Weld body on there, and I painted it. And to be honest with you, I haven't even thrown it yet, but it looks super cool. So we're in the middle of summer right now. Throwing a Magnum shaky head's a really cool deal and extremely effective. So here's one I've made for years, and that's just a Do It brush jig mold. It's got a perfect shape. It stands up perfectly, and it'll come through about anything. So what I did there is I put like a 6/0 EWG hook in it, and then I leave the whole pin in there whenever I pour it and paint it, and then I just simply epoxy that coil in there, and your worm lays perfectly straight across that hook, and it'll come through about anything. Like I said, we got to do some smallmouth fishing this year, So I felt like I needed a 3/4 and 1 ounce just tube jig head. So here's something I came up with. This is actually out of a Do It punch sinker mold, but it had the perfect shape. Now this isn't a 1 ounce or anything. I think it's a 1/2 ounce, but it's a perfect shape, you know, to fit perfectly up in a tube, especially with that 1 ounce size. You know, that's extremely hard to find, and you know, not every tackle shop carries that. So that's something I rigged up. You know, before Do It had their wobble head mold, I rigged one up. This is a little more complicated one to do, but you know, it's just a perfectly round, you know, football wobble head. And like I said, Do It's got one out now that's really, really awesome, and it works great too. So, you know, your heavier spinner baits can get hard to find at times. So I rigged this one up a while ago. It's an 1.5 ounce, or I'm sorry, 1.25 ounce spinner bait. This is one of the more simple ones to do. So, you know, for all you night fishermen that like throwing night spinner baits and have trouble finding a 5/8 or just the shape head that you like, just get a Do It mold with the right shape and just put a file right to the nose of that, just like that. That's all you got to do. Just lay the wire in there and pour it from there. One of the more complicated ones we've done, I think the most complicated one, is a chatterbait. So basically what I did here is I had to drill out an eyelet for a connector link, and then I had to literally cut the top of the mold with a grinder to fit the blade in there, so I can just pour it all in one piece. And here's what that ends up looking like. Really, really cool deal here. And like I said, it'll save you a ton of money on chatterbaits, and you can put the right hook and blade and whatever you want on there. So like I said, a lot of this is done out of necessity, and sometimes, you know, I just get bored and like to get on Do It's website and just look at really cool shapes and just get creative with it. The sky's the limit. You can do whatever you need to. There's only really 4 tools that you need to do this, and that's a drill, a file, JB Weld. You know, don't be afraid to do this. You know, it's a little crazy just drilling on a $50 mold, but anything you do wrong, you can just fill that hole in with JB Weld, sand it off, and you're good as new. I've got several molds that, you know, I've messed with in the past and needed to revert to Do It's original design. So I just JB Weld it and start over. You can do that as many times as you need. So, you know, if tinkering or lure making is your thing, I hope this video helps, and you can make some more efficient tackle. And thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next Monday.